All right, we are live.
All right, Whiskey Riff Raff, we're back, settled in. I'm in Colorado, Wes is in Chicago. Hippies and Cowboys, part 2. Nothing's going on in the country world, right?
Nothing really major this week.
That's why we're doing this, because we're super bored. Nothing to talk about at all.
Everybody got the dog barking over here. Nice ruin the beginning. So, guys, the news I think we got to talk about first, that we posted probably 20 articles about it.
Yeah, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys saw Grady Smith's YouTube latest post. He was just like, "Let's talk about it." I was like, "Oh, I know exactly where he was going with that." And then,
yeah,
I wonder what that could be.
Yeah, he real quick. Grady's such a nice guy that I think he like felt like weirdly guilty. He's like, "I got to talk about it, I got to just get this out." And then first thing he's like, "This video is not monetized." I was cracking up. I don't know if you watched it.
He's got to go take a shower afterward.
Yeah,
he's just like the nicest guy we like probably ever met in the industry. But yeah. So let's talk about it, as Grady says.
Yeah, man.
It's funny because the last time we talked to you guys, we did talk about Morgan a little bit because he was blowing up, and I think we kind of came to this. I don't want to say consensus, but it was more like we were saying he's a guy that's a better alternative maybe to Florida Georgia Line in terms of he can actually do a decent song, in our opinion, a better songwriter maybe than Florida Georgia Line. I don't think that's really disputable.
I think it can be.
Really?
Looking at his most recent album, and just like he doesn't really ever have any solo writing credits. Like teams up to 10 people. So it's like, really, how much of a songwriter is he? But the songs that he puts out are certainly much more well written than anything Florida Georgia Line would put out.
Yeah.
So, but just to clarify where I stand on that. But yeah,
that's kind of when people have kind of asked us, like, I'm like, yes, we have to have a semblance of like, we have to post the news, right? So like somebody's the biggest thing, we post about it. We post about it in a very kind of like, all right, like when he strips it down and he doesn't have all this production, it's a lot better. Like somebody wrote about that stuff.
Yeah. I think his production is the biggest downfall.
Like, I think that's Chris Young's problem too, who were like, the guy has a great voice and the production, but.
And it wasn't always like that with Chris Young. I mean, you go way back, like
he's cowboy hat.
Yeah.
He has some really, really high quality tunes, and he's kind of, it doesn't fit. His production doesn't fit who he is or who he was. Like it's a weird one. It's like when Justin Moore did that album a couple years back, and it's like
letting the night roll and stuff. Yeah. We talked to him about that. He was like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I listened to that. It's like,
you get caught up.
Like,
you get caught up. It's so easy to get caught up, it seems like. And I don't like some of these artists just make terrible production choices, and
they're pressured into it.
Totally.
It's insane
it's
pressure.
Not their decisions, really.
Yeah.
With Morgan, obviously everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, because some of the DMs we've gotten, what he did was insane and stupid and
wrong.
Yeah, wrong and indefensible and all that. And all that. You get to a point now where we saw kind of he's a guy that has like a timeline now, right? And we saw that kind of timeline play out. Was this something I thought was? I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I think part of me thought something bad was going to happen eventually. I just didn't know what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the least surprising news of the day was the fact that he's kind of a douchebag. I mean, everybody kind of like, honestly, I don't know if I hate the guy's music as much as I don't like him as a person. I don't think. And like and think what pisses me off is just the fact that he fucks up. He comes out with this apology video and whatever, and he apologizes and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, bro." And then like 3 months later, he just fucks up again. And it's like, dude, you're not going to learn. And you know what? Like part of it could be, maybe he does have a pretty big problem with like drinking, and he just needs some fucking help. But at the same time, I've met a lot of people in my life, and I'm sure you have too, little white kids who think it's cool to, say that word in the way that he said it and think it's like funny or think it's something that you're allowed to say. And it's just like, no, dude, like you're a little shit. Like, you can't do that. So I just think that I just think that, he kind of had it coming. And honestly, like, I think that they're probably just going to make an example out of him and be like, look, dude, like, you can't fucking do this shit. And I mean, he deserves every last bit of it, in my opinion. But.
So to piggyback off of what Garrett's saying there, I mean, he's quickly became the like unofficial face of the mainstream country music.
Yeah.
And that's not that doesn't show the character of who should be the face of mainstream country
there's a
music.
responsibility there.
Right. And I think that's the statement that's being made is we can't have this. And I mean, throughout the last couple of days, there's been like people come out and be like, his character's always kind of been in question with how he kind of treats different people. And I can't really say if any of it's true or not, but I mean, it's just the big question is like, is this who we want to be the face of the mainstream country music world in Nashville? Like the industry is basically saying no, and he needs to take a good hard look at, who he wants to be as an artist if he ever wants to do that. But his fans, I don't know. His fans, on the other hand, clearly don't care as we see his sales skyrocket.
He even he told this story a while back about punching out a guy on tour with Aldine, and I feel like nobody really talked about it ever.
I hadn't heard it.
He posted about it. We posted it.
But it kind of like was never a thing. And he was like, I was, it was drunk and it was after a show. And I don't know if it was a guy in Aldine's camp or like a tour manager or sound tech guy. Like, I don't know who it was, but he was like, yeah, man, I like punched him. And then Aldine just had my back and cooled everything down. We cooled everything down. And it was
well, yesterday we tweeted like, I don't know if you saw it, but I was like, when Morgan Wallen punched the guy in Aldine's tour, we posted it. When the SNL shit went down, we posted it. When the, what else? There's some, I'm like losing, there's like a third one, big one that happened. What the hell are we missing here?
The COVID
thing happened.
Tuscaloosa shit.
Yeah. When that happened, we posted it. But then now when we posted this, it was like, we get some DMs are like, you guys like, come on, let's be positive. We're like, wait a minute, we've posted all the bad stuff. Oh, the Kid Rock bar stuff.
Be positive about what? He's being a fucking idiot.
Well,
man.
So he's being a complete, and the fight thing, even in his quotes, he's just talking about like, I don't want to get in legal trouble, but I think we're good now. Like the quotes are all there. It's like from a radio station. Like
you're so cool, Morgan. Like fuck you, dude.
Well, so here's what I'll say, because Garrett, to your point about growing up, like where you grew up. When I watched the clip, the first thing, and it brought me back to a bad place, which was in a good way in terms of like why I left. But like my hometown in Indiana was that. It was white guys that looked like a combination of what I've said before.
Kid Rock and Eminem.
Kid Rock and Eminem had a baby. White guys that talk like that, right? Yes. And I was like, this is just like trash. These are just trash bags. And my entire town, I don't want to say my entire town, but like so many people were like that. These were popular dudes talking like that. And I was just kind of like, I'm out of here, dude. When I found out what school some of these guys were going to, I'm like, I'm not even going to a school in the same state as these guys. I'm going to go to DePaul. That's where I met Wes. So that's where my brain went right away, was like, fucking hell, dude. Like, that's just the way it's like the drunk. Yeah. Part of it just being a drunk idiot in terms of like the other stuff too. But this idea of like, a lot of people were like outlaw, like the term outlaw started getting thrown around. I'm like, I hate getting arrested at a bar in Kid Rock because you like were a dickhead with a bouncer is not being an outlaw.
That's
not what outlaw means. Like, and that started to annoy me. That's why I put that like kind of on my notes coming in. I was like, this term
I literally have an article typed up that I'm probably going to post on our new website about this exact thing, about like how, in the mainstream, people throw around the word outlaw way too much. To like, for people like Eric Church is a big one that gets the outlaw thing. Like Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen.
I'm okay with the Eric Church.
Let me finish because it's like it's one thing to say it, and in the way that word is used, I think it's cool to say that in the sense of like he's doing things like he's a bit of an outlaw in the sense of like how he's releasing music and the way he's like going about doing things in his career. It's kind of outlaw compared to like the rest of the mainstream say. That is reasonable. To say that somebody's a fucking outlaw and he's some like biker outlaw dudes slinging drugs or something like that. Like that's kind of like maybe this like made up like persona that some people get in their minds and things like that. And I think that's just stupid. Like, no, he's not fucking, he's like, the guy's taking a multivitamin going to bed at fucking 10 o'clock.
He's on the sideline of North Carolina wearing like a visor and his like shorts. But I do think, think in terms of the way he approached his career, like getting kicked off of Rascal Flatts tour and shit, like, because he played too loud and too long, like that kind of stuff where he just was like, I'm gonna do it my own way. Like,
sure, it's much more it's much more outlaw than just being a drunk idiot.
Yeah, being a drunk asshole. Yeah, exactly. That's not outlaw. That's being a drunk asshole.
So, but the outlaw kind of element too, after the fact, with at least with Eric Church, of all right, it's not like he was just like, oh fuck this. You know, he did it. He went to the small bars again. He kind of kept that grassroots thing kind of going in a way that's, I don't know, these days is a lot different. I think obviously now with COVID and stuff, but this term outlaw, like, yeah, it's funny. We posted it when Morgan got arrested. His mugshot was funny, right? Yeah. But it almost like helped him because and then all the tweets were just like girls being like, oh my God, he's so hot. You're just like, oh, so like everything he does that's bad, it was like helping him in a weird way. And then he had a baby, and that was just like a one-day news story, and people were just like, oh, whatever. And then they just like moved on, you know, like there was a lot of stuff happening. So you kind of could see the writing on the wall in terms of my opinion, like something else was going to happen. It was a matter of time.
And I want to piggyback off of this outlaw thing a little bit, because what's most infuriating to me with the outlaw term being thrown around, and I've seen like a couple clever TikToks from people being like, does Morgan Wallen pass the outlaw test? And like, oh, he said the N-word. Like, that's bullshit. Okay.
Right.
Like, that is not what outlaw country is.
Right.
And that's what people are drawing from this, is like, oh, he's being the most, I mean, we talked about the biggest drunken idiot. There's that. But the outlaws in country music right now are, look at all the our guest list for our podcast. Look at all the artists that we're talking about. These guys who outlaw country is against the grain of the mainstream, not following where the money's at and doing what.
And it sure as hell isn't fucking getting drunk and hollering the N-word. I'll tell you that for free. Like,
well, and then like,
fuck off.
Is like Cash and Waylon and Merle, like, is that who you're trying to compare Morgan Wallen to right now? Like, they would be like, fuck this guy.
They would kick his ass.
Right. And that's where I think people get like,
the problem is the money. Like, that's at the end of the day, money. It's just like the money, like the term cash cow. Morgan is like the cash cow right now with that's that label, big, like, that's
not anymore.
I mean, but
but he's lucky that nothing's really going on right now. Like, if he was on tour with Luke Bryan, or whoever the fuck he's supposed to be on tour with, like, would he get booted from the tour? Probably, the way things are going right now.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, his booking agency dropped him. Yeah. So essentially what's happened to Morgan after this situation is he got put down to the level of all of these other artists who aren't on the major labels and don't have these big booking agencies giving, where he's going to sell out stadium tours. He's down to where he's relying on his fans.
Yeah. And he's got a lot of them.
Well, he's got a lot of them already. So, I mean,
let's go around the horn real quick. I mean, maybe I'll say my opinion and see what you guys think about how it's going to play out. So I think, and I think we're probably going to be very similar on this, but you can add your opinions, obviously. But I think he'll disappear for a while. I think he'll do. You already got people reaching out, NAACP in Nashville, BB Winans, I read just now before we kicked off, and So I think even Jason Isbell, what he said, like, look, I didn't say tar and feather the boy. I said if he's smart about it and he learns from it and he actually tries, like, he'll be fine. As long as he does that part, he actually puts an effort in, and Kyle Larson, a lot of people bring up in NASCAR and kind of the similar situation he went through. Right. But I think you're going to see him kind of go away for a while. I think they're going to do some type of redemption comeback, whether it's, I don't know, rehab or some type of counseling or some type of sensitivity thing, training. And then there's going to be some new song that comes out or something. And then he's going to be playing some acoustic thing about how, like, he learned. And then he's going to be even
that he didn't write.
Well, no, but then I wouldn't be surprised based on like some of the stuff I'm seeing on social media and whether it's TikTok, Twitter, whatever. When that does happen, just the times we're living in, like I could see him being even bigger than he was before that happened. Yep. That's just like my gut feeling with the way social media is right now, with the way we're seeing his sales skyrocket as this is going on. So that's I don't know the timeline. I said 6 months, maybe. I don't know. I could see something around the summer happening, maybe. I don't know what that means, but yeah. I don't know, Wes or whoever wants to go.
I'll jump in on that. I think you're dead on that timeline. I have no idea also, but what it boils down to here is, as we talked about, Morgan Wallen has fans, and fans mean money,
and nobody's gonna leave money on the table.
And what is Nashville about? What's the mainstream about? They're about money. So if they're not gonna totally get rid of him. They're doing all this as a statement right now, but they're gonna bring him right back in and rebrand him or whatever they need to do to make it okay. But they're going to chase that money. And
I'll echo that completely. And also, like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like when the NFL was finally like, oh, enough is enough on like beating the shit out of women. Like that's not cool. And they just like made that distinction at one point, even though it was happening well before that. Right. And then they just made an example out of like Ray Rice and who else, which deservedly so, absolutely. But like, they just took a hardline stance. I feel like this is country music's moment to like, all right, let's take a hardline stance on this issue. But once it goes away, like the same way Michael Vick was rehabbed into the NFL again, he'll be back. He'll be back.
I hate that what what you said, Steve, is probably true. I fucking hate that. And like the worst part about it for me is the fact that, and the part that's going to disgust me when all of that inevitably happens, is the fact that, like you said, he's going to come back, play some acoustic bullshit ass song, and they're going to do this big rebrand and all this or whatever. And it's all going to be fucking manufactured not by him, by his handlers or whoever, right? None of this, we're never going to know if that motherfucker is going to make changes in his own life and actually fucking solve the problems that he is having or has, as, whether it's, being a racist or fucking being drunk and stupid or whatever it is. We won't actually know if he's actually made the changes personally in his own life, in his own head, because it's all just going to be this big manufactured show that like they're telling him to put on. And like, hopefully he does make some changes and like figures this out and learns from it. But like, we'll never know if it, we'll never know that for sure, because it's going to be completely manufactured by whoever's in charge of his.
Well, if he was an outlaw, like what I would do if I was him is I would say PR team, video team, everybody go fuck off. I'm going to just sit here, put a camera up, and I'm going to just talk to the camera for an hour, 2 hours, about what I've learned, the people I've talked to, all these things. Like, are they going to let him do that? Of course not.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to let him do that. That's my point. That's like, they're not going to let him do that. So it's
that's like, the thing.
Even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be allowed to.
Right.
So that's kind of where I get really frustrated with Nashville. That's why we, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, officially kind of stopped being like, we were just like, Nashville, just fuck off, dude. Like, we saw so much of the dog and pony show, and it just became so obvious that first of all, these people don't even understand like country music. They don't even know what it is. They don't know what a podcast is. It's just, this is a job and this is your commodity. And how do you get this commodity out to market and make it work? That's kind of their thing. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a baby toy that you create for baby. You could just plug that person into the same position and it'd be the same thing. Okay. Yeah. This is for baby. Like, oh, this is for country fans. This is the person, this is how they talk. Like, so, we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's the reason we're all kind of talking about it in a way. It's like, in this way of not knowing, it's because it's kind of never been an exact, like, people bring up the Dixie Chicks a lot. That's a much different, like they were talking about a war and a president. Like, there's no exact example of somebody saying something very similar at this like trajectory of a career, and then like, oh, now what happens? I don't know. Like, we don't like, I think we all kind of have a similar idea, but I don't know. Like, you know, and then
it'll be interesting to see how it plays out at the very, you know.
I mean,
like I said, it's.
Well, speaking of that,
it's hard for us to kind of speculate, but we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well, I mean, one of the last things I wrote down as far as the Outlaw thing, we can move to the next subject, but you do have people out there that have that persona, but even more so in terms of like drinking and crazy and like a Co Wetzel, like that guy, that's just like, that's fucking him, but he's a sweetheart. You never really hear bad stuff. But he's drinking.
We'd all be shocked if he did something like that. And that's the difference is we weren't really all that shocked.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Like, Co's drinking.
Oh, Morgan Wall's a douchebag. Like, oh, surprise.
Well, if Co's drinking tequila at 9 a.m. and drinking like on a thing, you're just like, oh yeah, that guy's crazy, you know. But he, you know, puts the thing out, gets a record deal, and you know, told us he's going to make a country album when he turns 30, and I think it'll be a great album when he does that, when he wants to, because he's right now he's that weird mix of everything kind of guy, but there's like a very obvious like difference I think you start to see with the way people are like go about just who they actually are and what they put out there.
Well, even like branding in country music is so like huge. What's your brand? And if from Oregon it's like, oh, I'm this like redneck obnoxious asshole. Is that the brand you're going for? Because
unfortunately there's a lot of people out there.
People love it.
Wes, that's the thing. It's not like he's doing that just because he's like drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they went in and were like, this is you, man. Like that's just this is actually what he's been doing. He's just been partying. Like so
and that's my point. Like
and then everything starts like coming out through the sieve, like as that's going on and the drinking's happening. And then Sturgill last night, the edit on his Instagram post, fuck it. It does seem like the kid has an alcohol problem, blah, blah, blah. Because the photo of him puking, I don't want to say where, but like there was like a photo going around Twitter, but like of him covered in puke on a couch and stuff too. And like people were sharing that on.
Gross.
I didn't see that.
That's rough. I never seen that one.
I thought, Wes, who posted that on Instagram yesterday?
You know what?
I sent it to you.
What's his face? Josh Headley.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Josh Headley.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there's there's like, it's like, you know, there's a drinking element to it right now. When you take away the racist slur that he said, that was going on for a while though. It was just like absolute mayhem, partying and drinking yourself dumb and all that stuff. And it's like, look, I get it. Like I've talked about this on the podcast with Co the first time. I was like, I got arrested because I was drinking too much. And I was at a Taco Bell in West Lafayette, Indiana, and shit got bad. And I was the unlucky one for the time being. And then afterwards, like I was, you know, like vindicated, so to speak. But yeah, when you're young and stupid, but I wasn't 27. I was fucking like 23 or something like that. You know, it's like, that's a big difference. Oh, what's it like? No, like I think there's gaps, 18 to 22, absolutely. 23 to 27, 27 to maybe 29. And then as soon as you hit 30 to 30, like
you got to lock that shit up.
If you're not trying to figure things out, it's like, man, like you got to like take a step up, step back.
It's an interesting point you made though, about like your brand and like kind of your image being way more than like the average person might like think. Like us as listeners and as fans, like we fucking apply that to our opinions way more than even we realize, because like, and this is something I wanted to talk about on our podcast and have just never had the right opportunity to do so. But it's just like, it got me thinking about it when it was like people say like, oh, Parker McCollum, for example, like, oh, that guy just looks like he might be a douche. He wears the snapback and stuff like that and the flat hat. Like, oh, he looks like he might be, you know, kind of like the popular kid
quarterback of the football team.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But then you talk to the guy.
I'm guilty of thinking that.
And then you talk to the guy and he's the most down to earth, just cool as fuck, like you know, you can hit him up anytime, text him and just be like, what's up, man? Like he'll have a conversation. Like he's just a genuinely nice guy. And there's nothing that I don't get one hint of that, whether we are on the air on the podcast or off. But it's just like people, that's just what got me thinking about it. It's just like us as listeners, we apply those like perceptions to our opinions way more than we realize. And it's just based off like looks and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the looks thing. Yeah, the looks thing is for sure. Like the Parker thing, like when we posted him in the Chattahoochee 20 hat when he was in our office, people were like, people that didn't know who he was, who the fuck is that? Like people were so pissed, and it's just like, but then he comes out and he said that quote a bunch of places now, and I know he said it with you guys too, like the Chris Knight songs with Luke Bryan Money. It's like it's a really smart quote that he came up with to keep using because he uses it everywhere now. Yeah. Parker's smart. Like when we had him in the office, we were talking a lot of stuff, and it's like, yeah, is he an arrogant, really talented guy? Probably, but they all are. They all have an ego. And if I told somebody like, what's the one thing about this job that you've hated? It's like meeting people, right? It's like you start to meet people and you start to go, oh, like, yeah, everybody is so different, but you start to see there's like a wall and then an image, right? And then there's like something. So when we get most to say, like what you just said about Parker, similarly, when we had him Austin, we were shooting the shit. We're like, oh yeah, this is great. We're just talking like normal dudes. Like Kip Moore is a great example for us. Kip Moore is like considered in radio a lot of times as like this asshole or something. You meet him, you're like, what? Like this is the exact type of guy you want your fucking daughter to marry. Like he just down to earth, smart, normal, like doesn't like the bullshit type of thing. I'm not going to name names, but majority, aside from what we're talking about, you meet them or you meet people just in general in passing, and you're like, what a fucking asshole.
Right.
You know what? So
like people like, it's not pretty. Like we got jaded by this. This is why we said no to Nashville. Like it was like, no, like.
So this is perhaps one of the best contrasts between what you guys do and what we do, because we have the exact opposite experiences with everybody we've talked to. I think the best part of what we do is the people that we talk to. Nobody kind of on the underground.
I'm not talking about I'm not talking about people on the podcast.
Oh, I gotcha. But
no, I'm not talking about people on the podcast. I'm talking about just in general, like the Nashville mainstream machine.
Yeah, meeting people in Nashville.
Like we definitely haven't touched like meeting people in Nashville or anything like that. Like we haven't like
you don't need
into
to.
that world, you know what I mean? But like as far as like if we're talking like at least the people we've interacted with, if you're gonna talk about like the Red Dirt, Texas, Kentucky.
Oh, Texas people are the best.
Oh yeah, Americana, like that type of scene, like the indie kind of
Josh Abbott for us. Josh Abbott is like one of the most fun we ever had. Like these people are Lainey Wilson, who we love and is mainstream, but like not really.
Joshua Walker, such a great dude.
Like,
he is such a good guy, man.
Definitely not talking about people we've had on the podcast.
No, I meant, sorry if I did.
I know, but like even like across.
But I'm just saying,
just in general.
Well, no, I mean, like their stories. I could talk to like Florida, Georgia, like these people that try to have this persona of like, oh yeah, man, vibes and shit, and then you come by them just to try to say hi, and then you're like, oh, you're a complete fucking asshole. Just complete. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stick their nose in the air. Shoo, peasant.
Get the fuck out of here. You know, so it's like, oh, you guys aren't like.
That's rough.
And we've had there's a lot of been stuff over the year, like with us, and people asking like, oh, you're gonna go to Nashville more? It's like, no, like everything about our business got better, made more money, all that stuff. As soon as we were like, fuck Nashville, like that was like our moment of like, what are we doing? Like, why are we trying to post everything? And then also be like, oh, hey, by the way, this is who we do. This is who we really personally like. We were just throwing stuff out there. And it was like, you start to see these, whether it's the people, like, I'm not saying everybody's like a mean person, like team members and stuff, but they don't even know what they're doing. Like people would come out for a podcast from a major label, don't know what a podcast is. This is
so it's like an interview. Well,
but the podcast, except we're just gonna talk.
And it's on video.
And then they go, do you mind if we sit outside the door so we can kind of like
yes, very much.
I go, yeah, but you're not gonna. Yeah, I go, yeah, I don't want. We had a glass like wall, like you can see on Wes's right hand side, or our. I don't know how that's gonna come up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like the person was just sitting there, and I'm like,
that's
what?
Weird, dude.
But then like the cool people, some of the most fun we've had on podcasts were people like Logan Mize. I don't know if you know of him, but like sweetheart of a guy from Kansas, and like got too liquored up and started talking about like some stuff with like weed and stuff, and it was like funny, but he was like, maybe like this is like a little bit of a, so it's like, those are the type of stuff you like. Yeah, like
that happens.
That doesn't happen in Nashville. Like, it's like one guy came in, and I won't say the artist was a nice guy, but like the person running the thing was like, hey, so here's the talking, here's what you guys are gonna ask them. I'm like, what? I go, no, or Wes, I think he handed it to you, right? We're like, I was just like, we don't do that.
Well, and then he also was like, can you cover up your logo on your shirt, because we don't want to have any issues.
Oh God.
I'm like, no.
You know what? Don't
bother. I go, you're not. I said you're not. I was like, every part of my head was like, you're not fucking Luke Bryan, dude. Like, quit acting. Like, let's get the fuck. Like,
and even if you were like.
No, but
come on.
If you have all these endorsement deals, I'm saying you have to have these certain things.
I'm with you.
I'm with you. And we're just like, holy shit. That was when we really started being like, we started shifting the podcast towards like, this is not fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's not fun when it has to be like tediously manufactured like that.
Right.
You know, like it's much nicer to just sit and just the way we are right now. I mean, yeah, we kind of ironed out some couple points that we might have wanted to talk about during this podcast, but at the end of the day, we're just going to sit here and talk about whatever may come up.
Have you guys had an experience where you had an artist be like, hey man, you got to take that out, like I shouldn't have said that?
Oh, absolutely.
All the time.
we've there's there's two podcasts in particular that's
surprising
will not even see the light of day because for that reason, like entire podcasts.
Well,
and then there's we had one particular guest, and in between, so when we play music in the middle of if you're familiar with our show, we play a song at the start, we play one in the middle, play one at the end. When we play that song in the middle, usually what Mike and I do, we just clap and like take a break, and we're like, okay, like we're gonna play that song obviously here, this is where we'll cut it, and I'll splice in the song, like, you know, go rock a piss or grab another drink or whatever you need to do, whatever it is, right?
That Canadian.
So it's like,
yeah.
Well, you never heard rock a piss? Like whatever. No. Anyway,
I love Montreal. That's one of my favorite cities I've ever been to.
Ew.
Oh, I'm a food guy. You must not like food.
I've never been out east, so
you must not like food if you don't like it there.
You're from Alberta?
Yeah.
Never. Sorry to cut you off, but
oh, anyway,
big Montreal guy.
in the middle there, when we took that break, because usually it's like, all right, like 5 minutes, like I said, go rock a piss, go have a drink, whatever. And we talked for like, you better write that one down. That's a good one. We talked for what, like an hour and 20 minutes in between about like just a bunch of shit, and we won't say what, but like we just talked about a bunch of shit that was like obviously not fit for the podcast.
Oh,
yeah, just not fit for the podcast. That was like, okay, like we're not going to put that in there, obviously. And it was cool. It was just it was just a good conversation. It was just guys just talking, but it was like, yeah, like it's not what we want to put out, and it's probably not what you want.
Right.
You want put out, right?
Totally.
So it's stuff like that, and then little things. Of course, there's always like stuff like an odd, like, you know, tells a story that like afterwards, like they're like, like maybe cut that one if you don't mind, like, or whatever it is, right? But
yeah, I mean, we've had
times like that.
You'd be surprised, Wes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've only had a few that were like.
Yeah, we had one where, like we said, it was Logan said something about that he didn't want to. And his wife was in the room too. And then she was like, wait,
they're just like hammered.
She's like, wait, what? And he was like, oh shit, you didn't know that? And like,
oh no.
So then they're like talking. It was fine. It was
a good.
It wasn't a big deal.
It was just like funny because they were like talking about, you know, husband and wife kind of thing. And then it was like, let's just not put that in there.
Yeah.
And then I think one other time, and it was just because an artist named some of his buddies by name. and was like, hey man, don't put their names in there. Like,
and bleep them out.
It was kind of like, all right.
Because it had a little bit of a, like, because we were talking about some cultural things going on. So I think they didn't want it to seem like, oh, I'm like picking out certain people to kind of fit some like narrative. Right. Which kind of leads into this thing probably pretty well. Go ahead, Wes, with the
I was just going to say that we've also told people no in certain instances, like where teams are like, hey, listen back, maybe we should take this out. I'm like, no, like, I don't care if it doesn't fit your PR packaged up narrative. Sorry.
Yeah, that hasn't happened. We haven't had somebody like reach out afterwards and be like, oh, you got to take that out. Like, I guess
it's really annoying,
but it was, I guess one, but it was like, that was reasonable. It was like, oh yeah, no, that probably shouldn't have been. That was kind of a mistake on our part anyway. It shouldn't have been there, right?
Sometimes it was like this one instance I'm thinking of was like a week later, and it was like, it's out. Like, it's out. Like, it's been out
sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry you just got around to listening to it, but
most people that's gonna listen to it have listened.
Yeah, have already listened. Sorry.
Well, speaking of politics, one of the things we had.
Did we pour the shot and just not do it?
Oh, go ahead, guys. I'm gonna chug this.
And then we'll
take a pull off.
Wait, Wes,
right here.
You should write down the time this happened so we can get a good screen grab for the.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Cover photo.
The thumbnail.
What time are we at here?
All right.
Are we gonna do it?
You're chugging that, Steve?
As much as I can right now.
Oh, like I'll chug one then. I don't know. Fuck it. I'll do a shot. That's all right.
I'm just gonna take
another one at the end.
Right off the top here. I'd show you the front of the bottle, but they're not paying us for this.
Oh yeah.
Nothing's free around here.
Yeah.
All
right, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers to it.
Cheers.
Round 2.
It's really more of a sipping whiskey, but
yeah, this is technically Scotch.
Oh, technically Scotch. Interesting. You don't like Scotch, Mike?
It's not my beverage of choice.
I like a good Scotch.
You don't like Scotch at 3:00 on a Friday on an empty stomach.
That's true.
I've actually enjoyed this one, but
my wife was asking me. She's like going to we moved out to Colorado, so she met some friends and she's gonna go out tonight for a couple hours. And she was like sending me like tequila stuff, and I was like, no dark tequila. First of all,
yeah, that's actually.
And she's like, "Ooh, this one sounds good."
Here.
Right? She goes, "Oh, this one sounds good," and it was mezcal. I'm like, mezcal is like tequila mixed with Scotch. That's how you should like explain the flavor. She goes, "Ooh, I don't like that." I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you do not." Like, it's smoky. I like it, but it's not for everybody.
I don't really like the smoky Scotch. I don't know.
I mean, most Scotch to me has this like.
Oh, it definitely has a little bit.
Wood tastes like wood a little bit.
Like, I actually just bought. Before I knew what time we were officially doing this, I was like, I had a couple of ideas. I was like, okay, if we do it at later in the evening, when the baby's sleeping, I'm much more inclined to want to have like Scotch or something. So I bought Scotch, a decent bottle, and it was $2.30. I'm like, okay, whatever. I got the bottle still. Like, I'll just have it whenever. But like drinking that at 3:00
all day Scotch.
Drinking that at 3:00 is not going to go over well. You're gonna just have these like glossy-eyed. It's like a champagne drunk for me. So it's just like a fucking soft, fuzzy face feeling. I don't know.
Do you guys drink wine at all?
Oh, wine is the best, dude.
Yeah, you guys are big wine guys.
I love wine.
I think it was Co's episode. You were talking about wine quite a bit.
But even on our cover photo on like Twitter and shit, like we're drinking wine with Kip Moore, like on the thing.
Nice.
And it's just
out of the box.
Not out of the box, but so there's a liquor store next to the gym now that I signed up for. I'm gonna check in here. Yeah, it's amazing. So I work out and then right after. And they have an entire aisle of like really high-end boxed wine. Like there's like good shit now.
Right. Yeah.
Like
it's not just Franzia anymore.
No, it's not Franzia. So their stuff is like, $20 ish for a box. And you just look it up in the Wine Spectator ratings of fucking this and that, and like winning awards left and right. And it's good for like 4 weeks. 6. You're like, what's the catch here?
Yeah.
4 bottles of wine. It's 4 bottles of wine for $20. That like wins awards, and it's like way better than like something you get for like $7-8.
Interesting.
You're just like, this
is seems like a trap.
No, but dude, I'm telling you, I'll send you some of the I think Black Box is the name of one of them.
Oh, I've heard of Black Box.
Bota Box or something like that too.
Yeah. There's some good stuff and you're just like, oh, and then Gary V, if you guys he can be a little much, but
yeah, he's good in small doses. That guy.
He had a recent like overrated, underrated clip.
Oh yeah.
And they threw out, they're like, box wine. He's like severely underrated. He's like, it's not what you think it is. He's like amazing. Right. So it's like the problem was, from when I get to my foodie, nerdy self, but it's being able to kind of keep the light and the bullshit out, right? So like Franzia and whatever, like you don't want light and all that stuff fucking up your wine, right? Sam Adams put the box higher so no light would hit the bottle. That's why like Sam Adams says that their beer's fresher because they made the box higher. It's the same thing with the wine stuff. It's like, how can they better encapsulate it so no light gets in to make it not fresh? Yeah. It's kind of one of the little tidbits there, but
interesting. Did you know that drinking warm beer, what is it, Mike?
Drinking warm beer.
Tell them how we learned this.
This is a Sierra Farrell quote. We were drinking with her.
What was it? Was it like we got a warm mimosa or something, wasn't it?
I don't remember what
it wasn't refrigerated all the way. I don't know,
something.
Like
we got served warm drinks at where we were at with Sierra, and she informed us that warm beer gets you drunker faster than cold beer. Because your body absorbs the alcohol faster.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because it doesn't have to like warm it up once it gets in your system.
This would explain something. Well, I just thought of something.
Hot tubs.
Well,
that's dehydration.
My oldest sister got married in like Playa del Carmen, like Mexico area. Yeah. And I remember buying a 12-pack of Sol, which I became a fan of out there.
Yeah.
And we were just sitting out there like, oh, there's no ice. So it was just put in the sand. And over the course of the few hours, it got hot. It's not room temp.
Like
it was
tea.
Hot. Tea. And I go, fuck it. I go, whatever. It's like they're Bud Light or whatever. So I just start taking it into the water. I'm drinking it. And I was just absolutely fucking annihilated off of just like Bud Light, a few in the water, just like nothing crazy. And I was like, this isn't that bad, right? Like, it's not that bad. Like this whole beer's gotta be ice cold. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, it's not that bad.
I have a buddy who drinks them like room temperature because he can chug them faster.
That's true.
That's just
that guy sounds like Morgan Wallen. The guy sounds like Morgan Wallen.
I was gonna say like that's kind of just like a pro tip, if you will, but
it seems like a kind of clip we should pull for this.
Yeah. I think the beach.
Notice how I didn't name his name, so you guys won't have to bleep it out.
Mike's drinking those Busch Lights.
Okay, yeah, because I'm a high class guy.
I almost bought Busch Light for this, and then I was
we have them here everywhere, which is amazing.
I'm gonna buy Coors Light
stores
in Colorado.
Yeah, not in Chicago, no, but in Colorado, yes.
Really?
I went to this fancy liquor store, and there's like a little Busch Light section. I'm like, this is beautiful. Busch Heavy and Busch Light.
Yeah,
we got Busch Heavy everywhere up here in Canada, and people drink it actually quite a bit. But Busch Light is incredibly hard to find. I can only find it at one particular liquor store that I know has it, and I asked them why they had it, and they were just like, "Oh, like we just try to bring stuff in that people ask for." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Who is asking for Busch Light? Like
me, motherfucker."
In Alberta, Canada, keep in mind this is like a town of like maybe like I don't know 5,000 people, like. Who the fuck was asking for Busch Light? But anyway,
my worst.
I have had.
I don't think I told you guys this story on the first time, but my worst puking experience drinking was freshman in college with Busch Heavy. I was like, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know what I was doing, but I found a guy that like was like, oh, like a fake ID. Oh, I had my fake ID or something, and I went and bought a 30-pack of Busch Heavy. Bought all my books, but spent $12,000 on books for the quarter for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And then had them all like just put them in a stack next to my bed or whatever. Just sat in my room on like Facebook was like the new thing back then. And just pounding Bush heavies by myself like a fucking loser. Go to sleep after, I don't even know how many, but a lot. Puked in my sleep off the side of my bed, all over my books. Couldn't use any of them. Had to fucking buy a new entire round.
That was the most expensive puke in your life. That is that is the most expensive so far, and will be the most expensive puke in your life.
I think I was able to say something that made me get a refund somehow with the books.
Wow,
I got them like this.
They're already puked on, man.
They're orange. Like, why are they orange?
Smell them.
It's disgusting, dude.
I mean, what a depressing time. Like, I think back to that, like just sitting there, like, oh, this is Facebook, huh? This is pretty cool. And then like,
it's wild to me that you guys need fake IDs. That's like one of the main points that I took from that. Was
the 18.
That you guys need fake IDs when you're in college to get booze.
Well, especially I think for us, it was
18 in Canada. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's 18.
What? You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. I never been to Canada.
Dude, I've said this actually.
But, okay.
So in Alberta, it's 18. Yeah,
there's a catch.
It depends on the province. It depends on the province.
The catch-22 is
familiar with Ontario.
The liquor prices are egregious in Canada.
Yeah, it gets taxed quite a bit, but
I mean, come to Chicago.
If you were to buy a
15% liquor tax.
No, I'm telling you, if you were to buy a 12-pack of Busch Light, which in America is like $11 American, it'd be what, Garrett? Probably $17 American.
Oh, like a 12 pack up here?
Yeah.
I'm trying with that. Yeah.
Not as bad as Alaska.
It'd be like 20.
Have you seen those prices?
Canadian.
20-something bucks for a 12
Canadian.
pack of Busch Light.
What does a case of Labatt Blue go for?
Fuck out of here. I don't want to hear this Labatt Blue bullshit.
What is that?
No, I mean, is it cheaper? Like, that's my point. Because
I don't know. I don't buy Labatt Blue. Sorry, you guys don't understand. Mike's just loving this right now. They make fun of me for drinking Labatt Blue all the time, and I don't fucking like. I don't drink Labatt Blue, dude.
Don't they sponsor a lot of? Barstool Sports has a lot of shows sponsored by it, right? They used to.
I don't know what it is, like why that's the stereotypical Canadian beer, Labatt Blue. But you know what? I'm gonna reach out to them and try to get.
Because they're like
because like
you would think a drinking country, which it is. Like I know it is, and would have like a more like staple thing. That's their like
Molson and Labatt Blue.
Well, I know Canadian whiskey, obviously.
And I don't really drink
and puppers
though.
What's the go-to Canadian beer? Just so I know for the future.
Fuck, man, like I don't know. Most in Alberta, like most people drink like Bud Light. I would say. I think that's kind of like consensus. Like, you know, I could hand anybody a Bud Light and they probably won't turn it down. You know what I mean? I will probably turn down like a Molson Canadian. That's just me though. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. It's not that good. I don't think anyway.
Good to know.
Mike and I are brutal for like, I think like screwing ourselves out of potential sponsors because we talk shit about stuff like that. We talk shit about Fireball. We talk shit about Labatt Blue.
Well, Fireball is like, we had a phase where we were trying to like pump it up and then it was just like, you couldn't pay me
that ship sailed.
You couldn't pay me to drink that. Like you just,
It takes one night and Fireball is ruined. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I like cinnamon, but my issue is more with stuff that's the viscosity. Oh, like I can't handle
cough syrup.
I can't handle the texture of syrupy liquor.
Like if you just soak some cinnamon sticks in a bottle of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or whatever the hell.
Jim Beam, because it's more like shitty plain tasting.
I don't know how you guys drink like Jack Daniels and Jim Beam like regularly.
We don't drink Jim Beam.
And mix it with stuff but like people do, and I don't get it's not good, man. Like I don't know. I'm
the same way people listen to Luke Bryan, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Jack Daniels, like that's like I've seen it with myself or other people. Like my dad told me about it when he was growing up in Croatia and shit. Like, oh, Jack Daniels, like be careful. Like you can't like that. Whatever it is in there, like Jack Daniels makes you fucking crazy, in my opinion. Like it's just,
I think that's just whiskey in general, but
whiskey in general. But like we've had some nice sipping, like high, like the higher end stuff. You feel like you get like a little bit of a more, I don't even know.
People down in the States don't drink rye either, really.
Yeah, we do. What?
Do you?
Yeah,
I love rye. I love rye like, from the the bullet
rye is good.
Right, but like
yeah.
Canadian
Templeton?
rye is like rye is like kind of
Templeton.
like the go-to
It's
whiskey
from
up
Iowa.
here.
Templeton rye is an Iowa rye whiskey.
Yeah.
What is now?
I like
Templeton
that
rye.
stuff.
Templeton. That's good.
Templeton. Oh, I'm thinking
It's not as popular as bourbon. Jack Daniels is kind of a unique thing because it's made with like charcoal and shit. So,
well, that sour mash too, like that aftertaste of. Have you guys tried like any? Do you guys like any European? Have you tried any like European hard alcohols? Like where my family's from is Schlivovitz, which is made from plums, which is like lighter fluid, which will light your fucking dick on fire if you ever need it.
It's like
We're talking Malort. That's got to be German.
That's Chicago. Right? That's Chicago.
Yeah, but it's got to be a German name, right?
Malort. Yeah, Malort's a German beginning, and it was like a digestif, I think.
One of the two, yeah. I think digestif.
made out of worm. We love it, and people think we're full of shit.
Have you had it, Mike?
Yeah, you guys do not love it.
We love it. We love it.
We bought a bottle to have artists drink it when they came into the office for podcasts, and we're like, you got to try it. And I feel like Muscadine and Bloodline were the only people that really tried it. Gary took right out of the bottle, but then nobody else would do it.
I love bitter, so my favorite cocktail is a Negroni. So when I try a Malort, it's not that different. It's just extra bitter. So I'm like, oh, this is great. This doesn't taste like booze to me. This tastes like
medicine.
If people listening don't know, grab a grapefruit. You're walking around in Whole Foods, grab a grapefruit, wipe it down, and take a bite out of it with the peel on. That's what Malort tastes like.
Okay.
The bitterness of the peel of a grapefruit is exactly to me what Malort is. It's that bitter. It's almost overwhelming where it's coming out of your eyeballs.
Exactly. That's why Malort is like, it's like a punishment drink that people try to trick each other into drinking in Chicago.
And seeing what your face looks like too.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. The Malort face.
Exactly. So nobody actually likes drinking it. And that's the thing. When I tried it, I just figured it was like in Iowa we have Hawkeye vodka. It's terrible. You don't that's like we trick people into drinking Hawkeye vodka. But it's at the end of the day, it's a shitty vodka. There's not really flavor outside of shitty vodka flavor.
Yeah.
But Malort, I was expecting it to be the same thing, where it's just like,
it's very
flavor.
different.
There's a bitter, fucking nasty ass flavor and bite to it.
I recommend it, but
no, Wes, let me tell them the story about the guy in the motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
So I'm buying in one of the trendiest restaurant neighborhoods of Chicago.
Fulton Market.
Yeah, Fulton Market area. It's like super trendy and my wife is getting like her nails in or something at the time, and I'm like walking around. I'm like, so I go to this place called Gus's Fried Chicken, amazing place. Mm-hmm. And there's a few locations. It's not a Chicago place, but so I was sitting there waiting for my food, so I have a drink, and this guy comes in, looks like Bradley Cooper, parks his Harley, slick back hair, leather jacket, great looking older guy, probably in his mid 40s. Comes in, has food, orders it. He's like, I'll have a Malort on the rocks. And I'm like, what the fuck? It was like my moment. I was like, whoa, man. I go, dude. I thought I was the only one. He goes, oh, man, I love this stuff. He's like, it's just settles your stomach down. You feel good. You feel warm. Like, and I go, oh, people do drink that shit. Like, people like it. There are very few, but it turned into this thing of how can we make somebody like almost feel like they're gonna like puke their brains out? Give them some Malort. Wes and I did a lot of tests, and we found that when we would take Malort after drinking a lot of beer, it almost made us feel less drunk.
We did a lot of tests. We've done
a
lot of research.
It almost made us feel less intoxicated if we drank Malort after drinking a lot of beer.
I'm not okay. I just, the University of Iowa, a lot of people come in from Chicago suburbs. Okay,
they don't count.
They do, but I am sitting here right now refusing to believe that you guys like drinking Malort on the rocks. Well,
I didn't drink it on the rocks. We'll shoot it.
We'll shoot it.
I'm gonna have to see if I can get some of this stuff in Canada.
I've never heard anybody say that's a legitimate thing to drink.
Okay. There are food.
I'm not buying it.
There are food. You gotta buy.
I'm not about to get got.
Do you like? Have you had a Negroni?
No.
Okay, there you go. Like that's one of the most famous cocktails ever.
Gin.
It's gin and it's Campari and it's what one more item. Gin. It's incredibly bitter, but I love it.
Yeah.
Gin's a sarcastic drink too. I don't think anybody actually likes gin.
Anthony Bourdain's favorite cocktail was a Negroni.
Wait till I think you'll age into it. I think that's what it is.
I'm still waiting to age into the IPAs.
Really?
Oh no. Yeah. See, there. I don't want my beer bitter. IPAs, no.
I'm out on the IPAs.
I'm cheap, shitty, not shitty, but like cheap beer.
Yeah.
I don't mean cheap in a like a less quality. I just like simple, whether it's a Heineken or Coors Banquet. No
surprises.
And Heineken, by the way, here's another little tidbit. Yeah. You're gonna feel so much better on the Heinekens. Incredibly better. And so it's a lot of it's just like, where do they get their water from? How do they do the whole process and all that stuff? And like when I was in Prague for part of my honeymoon, everybody there was like beer, drinking gallons of beer, and you just never feel shitty. Try drinking gallons of beer of like Budweiser or Bud Light or some shit. Right. Like you're gonna be like puking your brains out in an alley and just like bleh, like caramel color added to add a little bit of a little like tint of like
brown.
You go over there in Europe and you're just like, oh, like I get it now. Germany, Prague, wherever. But we've done a lot of people send us shit all the time too, like where we're just like, all right, we'll test it.
Yeah, totally.
What do you guys? Are you guys usually drink on the podcast or no? Depending on who the artist is. Yeah.
Depending who it is. If they're like, if we know that they're sober ahead of time, we usually try not to, just out of respect, as far as like we don't know where they're at and their point. At what point in their recovery they're at. So like we try not to. If we know somebody's sober, we try not to drink, or at least. In Mike's case, sometimes I think not obviously he puts it in a red cup, I think. But we just try not to like flaunt that shit.
I don't like I don't like doing dishes, so
fair enough.
I'll put it in the red cups. I drink water out of red cups all the time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, but usually we drink on the podcast. It depends who it is, but yeah, usually.
Extra when we're talking to you guys.
Of course. I wanted to ask you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like if we were going to get back to music for a bit, I was just going to ask you like,
I have Garth's hair plugs on my list.
Oh yeah, right. I'll listen to somebody and listen to a record in particular, like every fucking day. And I'll listen to the whole thing. I'll listen to the whole thing like over and over and over again for like a week or 10 days. And then I'm just like, then I still obviously listen to it because I love it. But like, I just move on to the next thing for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And it's generally something that I've like known for a long time. Like for a while there, it was Arlo McKinley and Die Midwestern that he released back in whenever that was. And then for a while there, it was 49 Winchester. And then now it's like, I've been listening to Mesolito by Ryan Bingham.
I was going to say that
was on my list.
That was on my list.
And it was funny because like last night, WB Walker had an Instagram post of like, he's like listening to this one and he had that record playing on his turntable.
Well, I gotta take a piss. So if you don't mind, I'll go first, Wes, and then you can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, the Ryan Bingham thing is funny because I got more and more into him. We started posting this Yellowstone content on the site, and he started doing these these
Bunko sessions.
We posted all those, and you're just like, fuck, like so good. So that became like listen to him in the past, like with Crazy Heart and all that stuff years ago, and then have moments where you're like, okay, all right, like love it, and then you kind of go and obsess over something else.
People don't talk about that dude enough.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And then, but we already talked about one of the other guys, like Parker McCollum. For me, is like, for some people, is new. Like, what's new versus not new?
Yeah.
I mean, Kat Hasty, like we're gonna have her on the podcast, and she's fucking awesome.
Same.
And Flatline Cavalry, I've been really into ever since, Turnpike kind of, we're waiting. Everybody's waiting. Joshua Walker, we mentioned, for me too, just became obsessed with him. He's the type of guy I like to smoke some weed by myself and just walk the dog or something and just like sit there, listen to him.
Man, that one, I love
Randall King too is a guy in mainstream, kind of mainstream-ish, but he's very George Strait like. Randall King.
Yeah.
We really like him a lot too. Or I think Wes does too, but
yeah, definitely.
But some of the people right now for me,
man, I just want to reiterate Joshua Ray Walker. That's a name that's not talked about at all. And
funny,
I'm glad you like him, because
I mean, we just did a premiere for them, sort of. It wasn't really talked about as a premiere, but like basically he was doing like a show in Oklahoma that they were just gonna live
Mercury Lounge thing.
Yeah, like we kind of premiered that, sort of, but it wasn't necessarily like, hey, premiere. It was just like, hey, check it out, he's doing this, like, kind of thing. And then we did the Voices acoustic set or acoustic video from that. But dude, he's so fucking talented. Like, and that Voices to me too was just like one of those songs where I just like get goosebumps when he's talking about like, oh, I'm gonna put a bottle in the car and then drive into the river and make it look like an accident. You're like,
it's very like,
and he holds a note in that song that's shit. 27 seconds long, like,
right?
It's heavy shit.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny Steve said that though, because like, so I just started watching Yellowstone. I'd never seen Yellowstone. So we just got Yellowstone on Amazon Prime up here in Canada on the streaming service. We never had it before. And it just came out like around Christmas time on these streaming services. So now I've been able to watch Yellowstone, and I'm like, I'm into that shit, man. I'm like, I didn't know, like, I was like, I'll probably enjoy it. Like, I know it's got great music and shit. But I'd never like seen the whole thing. I think I'd seen maybe an episode or two just off like some greasy, like, website where you could like stream anything. But like me and my girlfriend watching the whole thing, and we're like, don't spoil it for me, because we're like almost done season 2. But that's how I got onto the Ryan Bingham thing, because I was listening and like somewhere in season 1 they play Bread and Water.
They had to rock the piss.
Yeah, you had to rock a piss. There you go.
Rock a piss.
Rock a piss, man. But I was just saying, like, I just started watching Yellowstone. That's what got me on the Ryan Bingham thing, was they played Bread and Water in one of the episodes. And I was like, after that, I was like, I should go listen to that record. And then now that's what I've been on for like the last week. But
I would say watching that too got me kind of a little bit ignited more back into Ryan Bingham in a way. And
he's like the most famous dude that nobody talks about.
Right.
For whatever
he's an
reason.
actor in the show.
Yeah.
No, but he was an actor in
Crazy Heart.
Crazy Heart too.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
What else are you listening to, Garrett?
Oh, me? Ryan Bingham is obviously what I've been listening to here like the past week, and then I've been into Sturgill got me on the bluegrass thing. So if y'all are like fiending for some more bluegrass, you go listen to the Wooks. The Wooks are outstanding.
Bluegrass.
Yeah, bluegrass, of course. Which we had a member of the Wooks, Arthur Hancock, on, a former member of the Wooks now, on the podcast a while ago, and he's got a new band. They're called Wolf Pen Branch, and they're coming out with a record here pretty soon. So that'll be cool. He's a great musician, but just been kind of like, I don't know, going down that rabbit hole, and I've been really big into like kind of like that Kentucky scene lately. The Local Honeys, we just had them on, been listening to them quite a bit. Sierra Farrell, obviously, like digging into whatever you can find from her. I don't know off the top of my head right now. I know you're putting me on the spot here, but definitely that's been like the last couple days for sure for me.
Speaking of bluegrass, do you think there's an element of, because for me personally, Sturgill putting out the
let me add Nick Jamerson to that, because of course Nick Jamerson's in heavy rotation.
Yeah. We hung out with those dudes years ago in Sunday Best, and so like just, I mean, God, shit, what was that, like 5 years ago? Right when Whiskey Riff was barely even a thing.
We were at Purdue visiting our friend.
Nice.
Blasting that stuff. Like that was our playlist.
Well, I think Sunday Best is like the most underrated band in country music.
And like, yeah, they're doing the reunion tour here this summer. Like reunion
like
tour. It's gonna be like playing a couple shows, but like, yeah, that'll be a good time for sure.
But what I was gonna say though is that I feel like with this Sturgill Bluegrass project, which is absolutely awesome, I almost feel like it's kind of ignited, at least in me, a little bit of like an interest in bluegrass, because I was never like, I always liked it, and I think my experience with bluegrass was like, oh, Dirk's Up on the Ridge record.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know like some of the other people, but I just never really got into it. And now I'm like, oh, I gotta like listen to this shit.
Because it's kind of a whole other world from country. Totally. Like it's still country, but it's like, it's a whole other, like, you gotta, if you're gonna get into it, you gotta get into it, you know?
So I've been on this like Billy Strings kick as well lately. But now Billy's with Luke doing a song. And you're like, so you're like, Sturgill's doing a bluegrass record. Luke's doing a song with Billy Strings. Like, is bluegrass going to start
a bluegrass record?
And going to do a bluegrass record? Like, so is like bluegrass going to start becoming this thing where it's like, oh, it's going to be the cool thing to like get into?
I think if done well, it's a good thing. I think.
I think what we're trending towards in country music right now, kind of, there is a revolt against the mainstream, like and
the overproduction, like we talked about earlier, with like
there's a revolution, like people are starting to like figure out there's more out there than that, and with that comes kind of the discovery of people like Billy Strings, and you know, Billy's obviously, and he's a badass dude, and he's buddied up with Luke
Post Malone,
like, yeah. So like, there's all this going on, and a lot more people are discovering bluegrass. And my personal opinion on bluegrass is the best musicianship in all of the genres is bluegrass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like just the talk about production, everybody coming together and being fantastic at what they do, whether it's mandolin, banjo, fiddle. And then the harmonies and the vocals, the best musicianship is bluegrass. And people are starting to like dig for that a little bit deeper, and when they find it, they're like, oh my god,
holy shit, the most pure form of musicianship too.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And people who appreciate country music, you know, we've talked to bluegrass artists that are kind of like, no, bluegrass and country are different things, and they are. And I'm more on the side of things of like, it's more of a subset, like the subgenre of country is bluegrass. Like they're
the
so
same way Red
tied.
Dirt is.
Right. So I think of them more on the same plane, you know, just like, obviously they're different, but they're on the same plane. If you like good country music, you're going to like bluegrass, and vice versa typically. And I just think there's going to be a huge resurgence of these bluegrass bands, you know, Town Mountain and Trampled by Turtles. If you're not familiar, they're from Minnesota, and obviously Billy. And you know, I think we're gonna see a lot of it.
Like we published an article a while back, and it was kind of like, hey, if you really liked the Sturgill record, check out some of these bands. Just because, like, for me personally, that was kind of like a spot I was in. I was like, hey, I like
where do I do next?
So like, let me kind of like dig in, and I can obviously know how to do that on my own, but I felt like it was more important to like publish it and be like, hey, for other people who are in the same boat and don't necessarily have the knowledge to like dig into more bluegrass stuff. And I don't know, I feel like Luke and Billy too is just like such a interesting combination that's like exciting for what country music could be.
It's exciting for me because I have gone on record a couple of times not being the biggest Luke Combs fan.
Yeah.
And a lot of substance issues, mostly, not sound, but substance issues.
Your thing was songwriting.
Songwriting. Yeah, for sure.
His songs tend to, that's the number one complaint we see is beer songs.
Beer. And it's not like he doesn't have songs that aren't substantial and don't tell you something, but I mean, he's playing right in the middle of the field, you know, where you have to have songs like that to be on the record labels that he's on. And that's like, I get it. You know, I get it. And he's a talented songwriter, a talented musician. And just me, you know, so when I see someone like that with all this potential, buddy up with Billy Strings, who's one of the most talented guitar players and songwriters and just all around, man. He sounds like Travis Tritt to me. Like, I mean, he's got a pure voice and he can shred the shit out of that guitar. When I see Luke Combs team up with him like that,
well, that's a direction
I
wish more fans approached it the way you do, with an unbiased, like, open. No, you were biased. No, you were biased. But no, you're willing to change is what I'm trying to say. Like, because so many people are like, what the fuck? Why would Luke Combs do it? I was like, wait a minute. Plenty of people, like Luke Bryan, if he wanted to do, like, I don't know, maybe could he? Like, he would. Luke Bryan would never do that.
He could. I think he would. Also,
but maybe
Luke Bryan's a talented songwriter in his own sense.
He is. But I think he got so caught up now into this money-making machine that it's like, man, what am I going to do now? Like, we'll see what happens with some of these big names, but I love when an up-and-coming superstar who's obviously, like, other than Morgan, was destroying every record in the books, Luke Combs, does something with a guy like Billy Strings, who a lot of Luke Combs fans don't even know who the fuck that is.
Yeah.
To me, that says a lot. And then when Dierks Bentley did Up on the Ridge, that was a really cool moment, because, like, nobody, like, he was like a mainstream guy, and he was just like, you know what? To this day, he works with those bluegrass bands, and he
even his festival in Colorado, out in where the hell is Buena Vista or somewhere, like a whole night is dedicated to bluegrass, and he's got like Del McCoury and everybody else coming in, and it's like a huge thing, and it's like Dierks loves that shit.
And when they asked Dierks,
he had Brandy Carlisle.
Are you gonna live and die in Nashville? He goes, absolutely fucking not, dude. He was like, fucking Nashville. Like, he was just so honest about it. I'm like, I love this. Like, I love that, like, certain artists get to an age or a point of their career where they just say, no. Like, this whole thing is like, I want to do something different or whatever. And Luke, this kind of leads to a little bit, we don't gotta get like political, but like when Luke posted the song with Billy, he was like, I'm not trying to be political. This is just like a song about like uplifting, and people got pissed.
Yeah, people got pissed.
It's just like, fuck, like, can
you
put out a song and say like, I want this song to be positive for what it is, and not be taken by the left or the right to mean something.
And that's the issue in music as a whole, is the fans get caught up. I mean, our country as a whole just get carried away with politics, and if we're on different sides and how, you know, we can't agree on anything, and you know, people take that straight through to music, and it's like, oh, if I find something slightly wrong with this politically, then I can't like it, and it's
right.
It's ignorant. It's a shame, you know, like you see it all the time with Jason Isbell, American Aquarium. You know, people put up, you know, totally will refuse to listen to them because of their politics, and vice versa. And it's
Tyler,
it's not
after
good.
long violent history.
Look at this week, or was it last week? But Wes, you can jump in here too. But when Dolly Parton said why she didn't take the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice, she gave the reason why, or there was a reason why each time she didn't do it.
Didn't want to fly to DC during COVID,
right?
And her husband being sick.
But then most importantly, she said, I might not take it either from Joe Biden because I don't want it to look political. Everybody took her saying, I didn't accept it twice from Trump as like the headline. Wait a minute. Whoa. She just said, I'm probably not going to take it from Biden.
Yeah. Like,
and here's why I didn't take it from the previous president, Trump. But like, the narrative gets spun so quickly.
Yeah.
She was basically saying, I don't want to take it from anybody because I don't want to get political. Oh, she did, but the headline says she didn't take it twice from Trump.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. She explained why, and she said she probably won't take it on this next one.
Well, and now from Garth, it's, oh, he's liberal Biden lover, Eric Church, anti-Second Amendment, Tyler Childers, what
are we doing? You know what I mean? Like,
what people forget is that fucking artists are allowed to have their own fucking opinion too. Just the same way that person sitting there bitching about whatever it is has their opinion. Like Tyler Childers and Garth can have their own opinion, and it doesn't have to be the fucking same as yours, actually. But,
no. That's not allowed on Twitter.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, you're right. I actually wanted to ask you guys about some of this. A weird thought I had when we were just talking about like the kind of this is backtracking like big time, but like the Luke Bryan bluegrass thing, how we kind of said like, would Luke ever do that or whatever? It's just like how far? Because like right now, Luke Bryan could do whatever. He could release a fucking 40 minutes of him.
He looks like a 40-year-old dad now. Like enough with the bullshit.
This dude has enough fans and shit that he could literally release like a 40-minute video of him like singing the ABCs and it would sell. But like, you know, so for him it doesn't matter. But like, say like, and Luke's a good example of this. But like, how many artists do you think are out there that like maybe put out their first 2 records and it was super not maybe the way they wanted it to sound, but they were doing it to give them that platform, like we kind of talk about, like the overproduction, the pop influence and that type of thing. Like they're fed through the machine, right? Now they have this platform and they sound a certain way. You wonder how many of them actually want to go back and do something that they actually want to do, and they're just sitting there and regretting like all of it, like, oh fuck, like I wish I would have went the indie route and tried to just make it in the way that all these other indie artists are doing now. And it seems like there's more and more support and outlets for those artists to get support now more than there ever has been, really. And you wonder how many are just sitting back and like looking at, you know, Tyler or Coulter or whoever and just being like, fuck, I wish I would have done that instead of wearing, you know, ripped up jeans and you know, that type of thing, right? Like you wonder how many are out there like, oh shit, what am I doing? You know?
This goes back to an earlier point I think you guys asked us about. Like, I think a lot of these artists don't actually like what they're singing, like, and they'll admit it sometimes and be like, oh, like Justin Moore, like, letting the night roll. Is it a catchy kind of dumb pop country song? Okay, sure, fine. But like he doesn't. That's not him, dude. Like he doesn't like that stuff. But sucks, he got sucked into that. And then you break. But what I admire is when somebody breaks out of it and they go, okay, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. And they'll admit it. They'll go, I don't know why I did that. I'm like, oh, that's so refreshing when a mainstream person
it's refreshing.
Says that.
It's like sad. You're just like,
it's
oh,
sad,
fuck,
right?
dude. Like that's rough. Like you should
well,
be allowed
you got
to
to imagine
want,
all these people in your fucking head. Hey, you got money. You got a few kids. You got a wife.
Yep.
Now you got to go tour. You're going to go open for Luke Bryan. You're going to go do this. You're going to do. So for like a Luke Bryan type, I'm like, what's his net? Like he's already, in my opinion, like this way. Like I think his like his window. No, I'm just saying like.
Yeah, no.
His window, his
behind him.
His window is obviously like you're in your 40s. You have like 5 kids. Stop gyrating on stage.
Yeah, you probably don't. We could probably do without the twerking.
Dude, like, so what? But what is that spinoff?
Yeah.
Is he gonna all of a sudden now put up an acoustic guitar and just sit up there and be Alan Jackson? Of course.
Well, be all Alan Jackson. Like go be like all singer songwriter and just sit there.
No, he's like, but the catalog is the catalog in my opinion. Like, Alan Jackson's like this is like. So for us, it's like a funny thing of the Chattahoochee stuff, right? But obviously we know that's not Alan Jackson's best song.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but it's
so
like the one that you know.
But it's like such a great 90s hit. But when Luke Bryan, when you look at his catalog, you're like, oh, all of these songs for like the last like 7 years are just girly, girl, see you tonight, like shit. So his first album, both of you guys go listen to his first album. Go listen to his Luke Bryan's first album, and not bad at all.
No. But his downfall, his turning point was the beach, whatever. What do you call those?
The Spring Break.
The Spring Break series. The suntan cities and just every song is the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
it's like,
like
Kenny
the same
Chesney,
melody.
Goddamn, like
no, it's nowhere near Kenny Chesney good though.
Kenny Chesney
still
light.
does it well.
Yeah,
Kenny Chesney still does that well.
What is it like? Dollar store Kenny Chesney?
Yeah, Kenny Chesney Light.
When he released his not his current like his last single with the laser lights in the club, I just
What She Wants Tonight.
What She Wants Tonight. I just eviscerated him. And I'm not gonna say who reached out, but people reached out, connected, saying thank you.
Right.
What does that fucking tell you about Nashville?
Well, and the thing is too,
he like to know.
He wrote for Brett Cobb's last album.
Yeah.
And Brent had nothing but good things to say.
No, we had Brent. We had Brent on too, and he said the same.
I listened
stuff,
to yours in preparation to us talking to Brent. And we like talked about the same thing. It was just like, and you know what, like Brent has nothing.
You talk about a guy that got sucked
right?
into the machine as Luke Bryan, like.
And the thing is
also a sweetheart of a guy. Like when we met him,
I'm sure he is. Yeah.
But dude, we've met people not even a tenth of what he is in terms of money and fame, or complete pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Where Luke Bryan was like, "Hey, like, oh yeah, I heard about you guys. Like, think people told him stuff. He remembered it. He said it to us, and we're like, that's not usually how a superstar acts."
Yeah.
So
he was like, you guys.
We have a little bit of a soft spot in that regard, like where he was like, he was he was the headliner at Wrigley Field, and we met him for the first time. We're like, oh, okay, this is like a family man, like a good guy.
Yeah.
If nothing else, yeah.
Yeah, like okay, like I don't like your tunes that much, but you know, you're a nice enough guy. So like obviously, you know, I'm not gonna like there's not that hate in your heart anymore where it's like your songs make like okay, your songs suck and you're an asshole, Morgan Wallen. Your songs suck and you're an asshole. I really fucking hate you. But like Luke Bryan, okay, like you're a great guy. Your songs are like
Thomas Rhett.
I was gonna say another guy. Like seems like a good dude.
We're gonna have Thomas on the podcast, and we're gonna fucking grill him.
Can I give you some questions for that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Let's hear him.
Oh yeah. We have so many. He knows what he's walking into because he
asked to be on it.
How about this? Y'all send him our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After.
Dude. Yeah, fuck
yeah. We'll tell him.
You want to talk to the people that actually want to. He's the guy that
I don't hate Thomas Rhett. I don't hate him. I think.
Go listen to his early stuff.
I think he's a good. I think he's a good guy. I just.
Well, he
goes way the fuck out there on like.
When he hired Justin Timberlake's dance instructor to like start helping him, and I was like. Okay, like this.
Like,
So something got in his head.
He straight up, real quick. He straight up admitted on a podcast that he deleted after we wrote about it that he wanted to be Eric Church. He thought he could like that was the music that he liked, and then he was like, "Well, I'm not gonna get a #1 hit unless I sing shitty pop music." He straight and I like he said
reposted it and they removed the fucking podcast.
And I'm like.
Country Bruno Mars.
Thomas Rhett said, "What?" Like
he's aware. He knows.
No. He's so aware. We won't get into details, but he basically told us, like in short, that his wife loves what we post.
Yeah, she thinks.
Sounds like his wife doesn't like his music these days.
He basically was like, she thinks it's funny, and I was like, "Let's go on a podcast and talk about it." And he was like, "All right." He's like, I think he said, I think you're going to like the new stuff. I think you're going to like it.
And if you pay attention to his new stuff, he's been teasing. It's like, this a guy that people kind of fell in love with years ago when he was writing songs for Jason Aldean, like Ain't Ready to Quit. Like that's a country song. There's nothing about that song you're going to go, I don't, that's a good, solid, whether it's a single or not. Like,
yeah. Good.
I'm not against giving people like another chance like that. You know what I mean? Like, even like, so an example of this is like before this whole Morgan Wallen bullshit, which now I'm not even going to bother. Okay. Let's get that out of the way. I'm not even going to fucking bother now, but
there's Maverick
ahead of time. Hi, Maverick. Ahead of time. I'd seen some people whose opinions on music that I respect say that Morgan's new record, like there was a couple songs that weren't bad. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll maybe go listen to it, which again, now I'm not even going to bother. Let me reiterate that again, because like, I just have no interest anymore. But it's like, I like in that sense, just using that as an example, like I'm willing to give somebody a chance, you know, it's like, no, maybe I didn't like the last 3 Thomas Rhett records, nor did I probably even listen to them in full, honestly.
Right.
But like,
same. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if he came out with something and everybody like, if I see some people whose opinions I respect, like say like, oh no, this isn't bad. Like I'll give it a chance, you know? I'm willing to give people a second chance. Like somebody can make some bullshit and then come out with something that's really good. That's not impossible, you know?
Yeah. My spirits are low in those circumstances though. I think since it was Sam Hunt, he at one point like over a year ago, he said he was going to he wanted to make music like Tyler Childers, I believe was a paraphrase of that quote.
And was inspired by Sturgill Simpson.
Yeah. Right. You know, remember that? I think you guys wrote that article, if I remember correctly.
Probably did.
I was like, man, this will be interesting.
We'll see.
I don't think he can do it. Like, not anybody can just be like, I want to write like Tyler Childers and go do that.
Yeah, me and you both, Sam.
Yeah, I want to write like Tyler Childers. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no shit.
There's a guy right there that
I think is miserable. Yeah.
No, in my opinion, you guys can laugh and shit, but like, there's certain people. We met him, but like briefly, but you kind of connect dots. You kind of read stuff. You hear stuff. You watch stuff. You meet somebody. You see what the music they're putting out. You see what they say in interviews. There's not one other person even close to like so clearly doesn't like the fucking profession.
Really?
Than Sam Hunt. It's just like the guy. Like he's like, well, you know, I don't know, like this, like hip hop, like this and that, and when he covers like a legitimate country song, you're like, oh, this is not bad. Like his first song on his current album, 2016.
Yeah.
If his entire album was like that, holy fuck. What a win for country music where Sam Hunt's releasing this type of music.
Well, another guy, bluegrass. Another bluegrass guy.
Well, he started playing around with it recently, and it's like,
right. That's what I was gonna say.
He clearly likes country music, but he's like, oh, I feel like I have to put in hip hop. No, because your fucking team is telling you that. If you just put it out an entire album like 2016,
like
you would be all of a sudden now people like you, Mike, or people like Garrett, or people like me, or people like Saving Country, all these sites would be like, whoa, wait a minute. Good for this guy. He said, fuck you. And he goes, I'm going to put out a country album.
Right.
But he's like, I don't know what to do. I got to pay bills. I got to, and it's just like, and now he's irrelevant. Nobody talks about him anymore. It doesn't matter anymore.
Right. But that was my biggest precursor to the resurgence of bluegrass is Sam Hunt. What, it was his cousin or something? Is a banjo
or
player?
His wife's cousin or something like that.
Something like that. But he did like a couple sessions a couple months ago. And they were like, they redid a couple of his big songs in bluegrass. And it's like,
right,
this sounds good. Like,
yeah.
I've never said a good thing about Sam Hunt in my life, but this sounds good, you know, and it's
there
like,
it is.
Okay, it's in there. And so when you say he doesn't like the profession he's in, that makes sense. Cause
that's just a gut
those
feeling.
Videos, he seemed like he's having fun.
His wife wants to fill me in here, but like, which I love, his wife, not on social media, does all these amazing charity things. He like goes with her to like all
Guatemala
these countries. It's just like, he's not this fame guy at all. If anything, he's the opposite, but got kind of like thrown into this, like, you're this good looking, tall, former football player, 6'4", jacked. You can sing. Fuck it. Let's go.
Give him back to that image.
And then he's like, okay.
And I think,
and then you watch videos on YouTube of him singing with a church choir in college, fucking country songs in a white button-up T-shirt. You're like, whoa, what happened?
The thing is, too, like, put it this way: if he was really, really enjoying what he was doing, he would do it every year,
right?
Because people were buying it. He was topping the charts. Like, he would do it constantly. Why would you not? That's more money in your pocket. You would tour more. He hasn't done anything.
He just said, fuck it. He just said, fuck it, and disappear for 3 years.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, that alone, for people that are like, fuck that guy, I'm like, that alone should make you go, he's like way down on the
there's something else going on here.
Yeah, of like people like fuck, like there's a lot worse when it comes to like as far as like the way they like you can, I don't want to say feel bad for him, but the proof is in the pudding. Like, he just left. He's just like, I don't want to do this. And he just left. And he was making money. He doesn't care about money, obviously.
You make enough of it, you don't need to care anymore. Like
what endorsement deals has he ever taken? Zero.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like he was the biggest song of all time with as far as like streaming.
Body like a back row.
Body like a back row.
Right. Yeah.
Have a house party.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we'll be the first. I'll be like, okay, catchy, but it's like whatever.
Catchy. It's catchy.
But then when he does a song like 2016, you go, oh shit, does he actually want to do that?
Yeah.
But the label won't let him do. But the label won't let him do 12 songs like that. That's where you get really kind of like fuck that industry.
And you go full circle. We're gonna go full circle on this. Okay.
All right.
All the way around. That's what outlaw country needs. Is what outlaw means to the country industry right now is, okay, your label's not letting you do it. This is who I am, and you do that. And that's what outlaw country is and needs to be perceived as.
He needs to pull a Sturgill Simpson and as Sturgill put it, difficult his way out of a record deal.
Yeah.
I think he could do it. I think he could be a guy that if he really wanted to, if he really cared about the music, which I don't know. I actually don't know if he does. But like, yeah, man, you could definitely make some probably pretty decent stuff. I mean, he's a very, I think, intricate like songwriter when he wants to be. Like you can extrapolate it, and it's
even like drinking too much. Yeah. Remember that song? Like he came out with Drinking Too Much, and it was just
R&B song completely.
Yeah, completely like Drake-ish, but like.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically like, hey, all I do is drink because he literally put his wife's before he was married to her. I'm on my way to, like, you know, it was kind of like one of those things where you were like, you're putting
most artists don't put that out.
You're putting it all out there, dude. Like that's the kind of thing where you like, you drop it on New Year's Day.
You add a little band, you know, a little country production to it.
Yeah, put some steel guitar in there, put some fiddle in there, and then all of a sudden we have a country song. But like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where
it's a really frustrating thing.
I don't think. I mean, when's the next time he's gonna put out another album? 5 years from now, if ever. Knows? Like,
yeah.
But what's Morgan Wallen gonna do? Is he gonna shave his head, get rid of the mullet, put on a little trucker cap, put on like a button up, right? Grab the guitar acoustic, and sit there and play a redemption song, and people are like, oh, he's changed, right? That's going to be like the image potentially, right? Versus like having an earring in the mullet and like, yeah, man, I'm got a cut off flannel on. You know, Sam Hunt had
fucking dumb, by the way. Can we just talk about that for a second? How fucking stupid is that? No, the goddamn shirt with the cut off sleeves. What the fuck are you doing?
That's every Chicago suburban dude who's
goes to a country festival.
But then he wears the goddamn skinny jeans.
Mike and I talked about this on an early podcast. It was maybe like episode 4 or something like that. And it was just me and him on the show. And like, we talked about like the average like country guy or whatever. And he's got like the fish hook on the brim of the hat and shit like that.
The bottle cap like smashed over. Well, speaking of country guys, did you guys, I kind of wrote this in the notes, but
man.
Speaking of actual country guys, did you hear about Coulter Wall turning down Joe Rogan's podcast?
Yeah.
Because he was like, I gotta work the cows, during the winter. But maybe once I'm done, being
there's somebody that doesn't care about money. Like, because the minute he goes on that podcast, he's gonna double his fucking net value.
Well, here's the thing. He probably doubled his streams just off of Joe talking.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying him on there, but
definitely, man, definitely.
We're intertwined with that, with Coulter and his whole circle, and He doesn't like doing that shit.
Yeah.
Like he just doesn't.
That's
like
obvious.
I don't think
no
he's big on
interviews
interviews. Yeah, he's not big on interviews.
No.
I mean, you think about it,
Yeah.
you guys. Like he did one interview for his last release with Thomas Mooney on New Slang, who we're kind of buddies with now too, Thomas, and it's a great podcast too, by the way.
I don't like Thomas. He beat me in fantasy basketball a couple weeks back.
Yeah, he did a couple weeks ago.
I'm not gonna let that
That's
go.
too bad. You're not gonna let it go. But anyway, you think about that, like, yeah, exactly, man. Like Coulter did one interview and that was it. That was like his entire fucking PR for that whole record. And he was like, what? Like, wasn't he first on iTunes or something like that in all of country and fourth in all of music?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like that just proves right there you can be a fucking outlaw. And I'm using air quotes for those who are listening to the audio version of this, an outlaw, and do it your own fucking way and not do all of the bullshit. And I mean, he also, like, keep in mind, has a huge audience and doesn't necessarily need to do all of the bullshit, but like he's kicking ass and doing it in his own way.
There's in my opinion, and I completely agree with what you just said, Garrett, there's this element of like, people just assume because somebody's famous and great at music that like, oh, they're going to be great in an interview. They're going to be normal.
Yeah,
they're going
right.
to, he might be shy. He might not want to do it. He might just, is mainstream wise, Miranda Lambert, Eric Church, they don't do anything. They don't do interviews.
George Strait doesn't do interviews.
George Strait stopped doing interviews 30 years ago.
Like,
yeah, man.
But you won't find Eric Church ever do a late night show. Oh, do you? And when I say that, people go, "Oh, I never thought of that." I'm like, you never once has he done a late night show. They've all asked him. He says no to all of them. That would make him more money. He's just like, no, I don't want to do it. It's not real. It's fucking fake.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a production thing on a show. So Coulter Wall, he knows I got to go sit there with Joe Rogan for fucking 2 hours, 3 hours, talk.
It's tough because it's, I mean,
it's not
especially
easy.
for a guy who's
I
kind
should
of
have
just like Coulter's kind of just becoming the kind of star that we already know he is, you know, like he's just starting to kind of break through into that world now.
He's younger than 3/4 of us sitting here.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Like Coulter's damn near the same age as I am. And it's just like that's a, you know, it doesn't sound like a lot of pressure. Oh, you got to sit and bullshit about whatever with Joe Rogan, but it's like, it's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of ears on your shit. You know, maybe he's just not totally ready for that totally yet. And just because Mike and I have tried to get Coulter on the podcast a couple times and that's, you know, whatever. Like, it's just like, he's not an asshole because he doesn't want to do an interview.
No,
you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, he doesn't want to, he's above us or whatever. It's just like, he's not an asshole because he doesn't want to do an interview.
You know, it's
like,
different. You know, it's different.
Yeah,
although
whatever.
He's
just whatever. It's okay. Like,
well, even Joe's
he turned down us, you know, just because he's not interested. He turned down Joe Rogan, and you know, like, you know, we're on the same plane. You know, maybe like Joe Rogan a little down here, and then us like right above. So like we can't be hurt too bad. You know,
if
like,
Joe Rogan's one, you guys are like 4 or 5, right? Like
right.
Yeah. No. I think we're last I looked, I think we're right just slightly above Joe Rogan. We hosted Fear Factor before he hosted Fear Factor.
They kicked us off.
Donkey Kong. You tell that story, right?
Yeah,
how it ended the Fear Factor.
Yeah. No, but like that's Coulter's just a good example of somebody who, everybody wants to hear from him. Everybody wants to just sit and listen to Coulter talk about whatever it may be. But it's like, if he doesn't want to do it, it doesn't make him an asshole. It's just like, you know, maybe he'll do it down the line. Maybe he'll, you know, whatever. Like, it is what it is. People are different, you know.
Did you guys hear how he hated his brewery sessions?
Yeah, for sure.
That everybody loves.
Yeah, and I mean, those have like the most hits on YouTube.
Kick drum. He hates everything about it, man.
It's so good, dude. It's fucking so great though. If you're working out, or you take a couple hits for me, a couple hits of weed or an edible hits, go on a nice jog,
and then
that song comes on. Boom, boom. I'm like, come on, man. I was like, just embrace
it's great.
Like, it's fucking
just
great.
Like listening to him now, like if you guys have seen him play Sleeping on the Blacktop live, with the way he's singing it now, where he's more comfortable with his voice. You know what I mean? It still sounds fucking unreal the same way it did the first time that you heard Sleeping on the Blacktop. But it's like, it's just a little different, and that's fine. Like I said, it still kicks ass, but I'm just happy that now he's like comfortable playing some of those songs with his like comfortable voice.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
He's got the best harmonica player in the game.
Yeah, his
Jake
band
Groves,
rips.
man.
His
like,
band
what's the harmonica? Do you know the harmonica player's name?
Jake Groves. Jake Groves. And
Jake Groves blows.
Jake Groves blows. We partied with him a little bit in Lexington.
Partied,
Then his steel players extraordinarily well. Also,
Pat.
Pat Lyons.
Pat
Lyons
nice.
is.
He like pretty much produced his last album himself, right?
No, well, it was through La Honda.
Yeah, not like
produced. Yes, he
produced, not like record label, like produced.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of cool to see him just kind of like, let me just try to do this, you know.
And that's the cool thing about the record label of La Honda is they are putting out music that the artist wants to put out. So they let Coulter
give him that freedom.
Give him the freedom, and that's what you don't see a whole
What's
lot
fun about that
anymore.
record too is like on some of the songs, like you can tell like it's just a live mic in the middle of the room basically, and then other ones are more like kind of like, I guess, like if you want to say like traditionally recorded, right? But some of them are just like Talking Prairie Boy, for example. It sounds like just a wide open room and it's just him sitting there.
Yeah.
Picking into the mic, you know.
His dad is Brad Wall, right? Like a politician in Canada.
Uh-huh.
He always retweets our shit like right
he's
away.
He's a great guy.
Like he's the best.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh yeah, super nice guy.
He'll send us messages every once in a while and be like, I just appreciate you guys for what you do.
Brad's a very nice guy.
Well, boys, I'm running over. I got to take care of the baby a little bit, but we.
All right.
How
I got
like what 90 minutes? How long?
Hey, I got a question for you guys, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
When's this gonna air? You can cut this if you want.
No,
probably tomorrow-ish.
Tomorrow, yeah. Probably.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna plug something real quick if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are doing on our new website, thehippiesandcowboys.com. We have a raffle going on, and we'll be announcing the winner on the 11th. And this is in partnership with the people at Healing Appalachia, which is a music festival in Huntington, West Virginia, that's ran for 2 years. 2020 would have been their third year. Obviously, because of COVID, they couldn't have the festival, but like Tyler headlines it every year, and like all of the proceeds go to Hope in the Hills, is the organization that puts it on. And it's all about fighting opioid addiction in Appalachia. And they've been kind enough to kind of partner with us. We're helping them promote it. And so we're doing this raffle. There's some pretty cool prizes up. It's $25 to enter. You can enter as many times as you'd like. The prizes include Healing Appalachia poster from 2019, a signed vinyl record from Arla McKinley, and a signed Country Squire print, Tyler Childers, some merch from us, and a $50 gift card to Tyler's store. One person will take home all of that stuff. So, and obviously all of the proceeds are going to the Iowa Harm Reduction Coalition and Pound Makers Lodge treatment centers here in Alberta. So
it's an important thing too.
Right on. We actually I published an article like maybe 3 hours ago about the concert, the live stream too. So definitely check that out. Throw some money in the virtual.
I'll put some raffles.
Yeah, we can put the link too in the YouTube and the Facebook and the post and all that shit too.
Yeah, thanks guys. Just thought
let's do this. Let's do this again soon. Like
dude, always.
It's fun. It's always gonna go along, but I love it.
Right.
That's fine, dude. We said last time we'd do it. We should do this almost like monthly, and then like
and then
we obviously all got busy, but
once I
actually do it.
Now that I'm settled in now, like I think it wouldn't be that difficult to do it. Man. If nothing else, once every couple months.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Few weeks.
We're down. Always down.
Always good hanging.
All right, boys. I love what you're doing. Cheers. Stay safe.
Appreciate it.
And
thanks,
pet that little cat over there. People that are listening and don't see the cat behind Mike over here are like, what the fuck is what the hell am I talking
about?
Pet the cat.
Pet the cat, man.
All right, boys.
All right.
Love
Thanks,
you guys. Stay
Appreciate
safe.
it. Yeah.
Talk soon.
You too.
All right.
Take it easy.